This video is going to be about pornography use. If you are using pornography, a daily user and daily enjoyer, this video is not for you. This video is for those who are suffering, who want out of the addiction. So if that's you, stick around. I also have some further resources in the description below of some companion videos that I've already created that will help you get through some of the questions and answers at the end of this video that I'm going to provide you. So let's start off with the topic, pornography use. This video we're going to be discussing is creating a different type of understanding surrounding pornographic use. The paradigm that I'm going to introduce to you, which I've seen starting to occur or coming out into the language, is understanding that pornography, your addiction, is a survival tactic. You're turning to pornography because you are avoiding something else. And you're avoiding something else that you perceive as a threat that is more threatening to your very existence and your fiber and being than pornographic use is. The pornographic is an acceptable addiction, but confronting whatever that needs to be confronting, whatever you're running away from, whatever you're hiding from, well, that's unknown and that's dangerous. And maybe you don't know how to actually do that. And that's where this video comes into, that gap between the addiction and the avoidance pattern. Whenever I have felt an emotion that I just wasn't comfortable with, I would completely nuke it from orbit by drowning it in pornographic use and thereby just washing my system with dopamine. And now all that apathy, all that despair, all that sort of self-loathing can go away. Now I would feel shame. I would feel disgusted with myself, but those would be temporary, and I would, feel a little bit of remorse, and I would move on, and I would swear to myself I wouldn't do it again. The next day would come and I would do it again, right? Because the same causal factors, the lead up to it, were never addressed. So the question I'm going to give to you is simply this question. What are you avoiding by looking at pornography? By chasing the pornographic dopamine rush high? Now, the question itself at the outset might be a little bit too blunt, might be a little too acute. So there's a way that we can look at this question without it overwhelming us, without us needing to squirrel away in a cave for a week, fasting and depriving ourselves of technology to truly come to an understanding. So as you're going through your pornographic use, try to increase your awareness of the time frame leading up to your pornographic use. So all the pornographic use that I had consumed in the decades leading up to my eventual freedom from pornographic material was precipitated by a painful emotion, which I then used to precipitate another addiction. So before it was like video gaming. So I would play on my Game Boy, or I would play on my computer, and I would find especially my older adult days where I was living by myself, it would be video game addiction 24/7, quite literally sometimes, where I would get bored during the playing of the video game because that's truly not what I really wanted to do. It was just something I was doing to mask and distract myself with. And then I would get bored with that. And then I would, turn to pornography after that. That was my cycle. So for you, what is your cycle? What is the ritual leading up to the climax of your pornography? So that's what we want to figure out, is expanding your awareness to include what you're feeling, what are you thinking, what are you doing in the lead up to pornographic material. I would recommend keeping a journal, writing this stuff down. In the beginning, you probably won't, but the more and more you just start doing something, the more and more you'll start actually writing these events down. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you are very aware of your emotions leading up to the pornography use. And so once you've uncovered and created the understanding of what actually is happening, then you can look at it clearly and say, okay, I'm avoiding painful emotions that are evoked and created through this situation where I'm fighting with my family or I'm fighting with a loved one. For me, after I made the decision in June 2021, June 1st, where I stopped pornography use, I swore it off, and I made a decision to stop it. Not just a promise to myself, but I made a decision to stop it. The only times, and I can count on two hands the times that I've looked at pornography use since then, is the times have been when I have felt an overwhelming amount of pain that resulted from a fight or in a disconnect, an emotional disconnect from my wife, from my partner, for the love of my life. These disconnects between me and my partner were just too painful for me to confront, to handle, to process, to even look at. And so what did I do? I ran to pornography use, and I masked it over and brushed it over again with that dopamine rush, that flood of endorphins through my body. And that's how I used it. But that's not healing. The wound of the disconnect is still there. So that's another video. Once we have identified the cause and lead up factors, we can then address those. So we're going to be doing that in another video. So do stick around, hit the subscribe button, and drop me a comment. I would love to hear your feedback on this. If you can create a different understanding about your pornography use and look at it as a symptom instead of a cause, like an actual addiction, well, how do you think that your life will change if you're still struggling with this? And if you are still struggling with pornography, what other questions do you have? I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Let's talk. Let me create some videos to help where we can fill some gaps of knowledge. You have a great day. Blessings. Take care.